What's up, everyone? Check here. It's time to give an empire to a country that never really had one, Cuba. So if you don't know Cuba, it's an island in like the Pac- Pacific. Frick. Um. Wait, that's the Atlantic. What is wrong with me, anyways? So now we're going to be giving them an empire, and they will be portrayed by the color. They'll be portrayed by the color blue, and all their enemies will be portrayed by the color red. So first, their first plan for building their empire is taking out Haiti and the Dominican Republic, who decide to just go screw it. We need help. We're kind of corrupt. Let's just unite. There we go. Good enough. So with this, united and everything, Cuba has to make their advancements. So, Cuba, if you don't know, their military is pretty strong, because it's what they usually spend most of their money on. So they make a big landing over here into Haiti, nearly wiping out all of it. Then they encircle what Haiti would be, and they start their push into the Dominican Republic. They start another encirclement, taking out more of it, and then they push and taking out all the Dominican Republic land, and then they finally make the push there. So all that's left is Haiti, which is easily encircled. And I will say Cuba is going to be mildly buffed, not extremely buffed, but a good enough buff. So now we have the fall of Haiti and the Dominican Republic, and so what happens next is that it becomes the whole island becomes part of Cuba. So let's just color this in. And I don't feel like coloring all of these countries in because a lot of them are going to be way bigger. Because it just and there's no fill tool in the program I use, and I don't want to have to do pixel or pixel E because it's just way more complicated than pixel X. So yeah, Cuba has taken control of this entire island, and it is now fully colored in. So that's really great. They then put their sights onto another island, um, over here. I don't think that's Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico's right here. I think this might be like Summer Island. I don't really know. I don't know my islands. So they instantly just annex it. I'm just gonna get that over with. There you go. Good enough. So now Cuba is starting to become a little bit too big. Then Honduras decides to declare war on them. So, Cuba reaches help with an old Honduras enemy, and that is El Salvador. So Honduras starts making a surprise push into El Salvador before they can fully mobilize, but Cuba makes a small, pretty insignificant landing over in the north of El Salvador, and they start to take just a little bit. El Salvador finally gets up and they're able to push Honduras in. And now there's a bit of encirclement because the two sides meet up over here and they also meet up over here. So now Honduras is a little bit screwed, but they are good friends with Nicaragua. So over in Nicaragua, they decide to join the side of Honduras, and they start their push in, and then are able to break the circlement of Honduras. It is around this time period that Cuba finally develops their first nuclear missile, and they also develop an atom bomb. So that's cool, I guess. Pretty nifty. Um, El Salvador forces push through here, and they also circle with Cuban forces, taking out the rest of this land. And then they put two circles over here, and they able to wipe out the rest of it. So that was a bit of a battle. Now let's see the borders. Yeah. So over in Honduras and Nicaragua, Cuba and El Salvador decide to unite them because it's easy. Um, so in El Salvador will gain quite a bit of territory due to their small size, and Cuba feels a little generous. They're able to get a massive dip out of this part of Honduras and a little bit of Nicaragua, while Cuba decides to just for now puppet the rest because they're too lazy to color the whole dang thing in. So now we have the first Cuban puppet. Um, and then now Cuba is feeling a little bit cocky, so they decide to take down a bit of a bigger opponent. this opponent is going to be Venezuela. Now, if you don't know Venezuela, it's a pretty dangerous country. It actually has the highest crime rate, but whatever. So, it's this year going to go really well for Cuba, or really bad, because it's possible that the civilians will uprise against the Venezuelan government, or it's possible that they'll follow with knock off Joseph Stalin. Like, seriously, look at that guy. So Cuba makes a landing in here and dashes down, making a quick encirclement. And with the criminals, some decide to side with rip off Joseph Stalin, while others side with the Cuban government. But over in here, Venezuela starts paying some rebels in Cuba to try to unite. If you don't know, Cuba has been trying to do as much reforms as possible. Um, but there is a small extremist oh, well, it's pretty dang big. It's an extremist uprising in this part of the country. So now Cuba has to fight a war on two fronts. So they bring in some Haiti and Dominican Republic troops to help deal with the extreme commies. These guys, they fall under a little bit of a line between Lenin and Maoism. Um, and they are crushed because of their poor training. Back over in Venezuela, there's an encirclement here, and there's also another encirclement here. And now Venezuela is starting to get kind of worried. They don't want to be another puppet or just completely annexed. But after two more encirclements happen, Venezuela decides to go on a massive hunt. So, using lots of forces, they start breaking the encircling movements, and they start taking back some of the country. Seeing this, Cuba decides to do the exact same thing. So, and with a massive force, they push down, taking over a lot of Venezuela. Venezuela surrenders, and this leads to another complete 100% puppet. This also means that, yeah, Venezuela no more red. So Venezuela is while it is mainly puppeted, there's a little bit down here that is going to be used. Uh, there's a little bit up top. I mean, frick, can't speak. There's a bit up top that will be completely annexed by Cuba. And it's just this land right here, because Cuba, although they do want to expand, they don't really want to have to 100% take control of literally everything. So Cuba completely annexes all of this territory right over here, and it does pretty good. The one bad thing about taking over Venezuela is now Cuba has a massive crime rate. They're number one right now because Venezuela was originally number one, and now they're kind of puppeted. So they start sending their criminals to a continent that is famous for having criminals sent to it, Australia. Um, Cuba decides that they're going to declare war on all of the Guyana region. So they do that. So they do that well. But the thing is, if they want to declare war on all of these guys, they're gonna have to declare war on France, because if you don't know, this one right here is controlled by France. So these guys all decide to unite, which basically means they're just under French control. And France also joins in on this war. And to Cuba's happiness, Spain decides to stay out of it, because if you don't know, Cuba's main plan is to take out Spain, because history and stuff, and prove that they were better conquerors. So now over in the Guyana region, we have French troops arriving extremely quickly, um, due to their wanting to protect and stop communism and stuff. Um, Although this does, NATO is not activated, by the way, because because Cuba played this smart. They declared war on these two countries first, which got French Guiana to declare war on Cuba, which got France to join in. So that does not activate Article 5 of NATO, and they're also kind of having to deal with a little bit of this. It's now France is now actually doing some military stuff, and also um they decide to send, but they can't really fight most of this, because this is taking in place in a timeline where they're sending a lot of stuff to Ukraine. See you in the next video.